Hi, I'm Lindsay Mega, and I'm from Yarrabah. Born and bred born in Cairns and lived in Yarrabah my whole life. I'm a traditional owner from Yarrabah, and I also been in church for quite a long time now, and been very useful in the ministry of my church and helping out here and there and wherever I'm needed. Also under my rector, the priest in charge, also under my bishop, retired bishop. But it's been a very good ministry.
And I'm Annette, Reverend Annette Woods, and born in New Zealand. Don't hold that against me. Been in Cairns for almost 30 years, which is pretty good because I only came for 2. And at the beginning of the 29th of January this year, I was commissioned as missioner and priest in charge at St Albans Church, Yarrabah. So I'm now almost living there full time. Hopefully by the end of this month I'll be moved completely over, and looking forward to that. That's where I am. There you go.
Well, in Yarrabah, it's a big community, a big Aboriginal community throughout Australia.
Probably the biggest in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, the biggest.
Depends who you talk to. Some people say it's 3,000, some 6,000.
Some say 3,000, 4,000, whatever. So, but it's the biggest Aboriginal Anglican mission. Yarrabah is in the north, not far from Cairns. Cairns in the north and Yarrabah is in the south.
So Yarrabah means meeting place, and sometimes I think it should have meant something else, like melting pot, because it was people from all around the north of Australia were sent there as part of the stolen generation. So you had people coming from all around the place who were told, pretty much you're all black, so you'll all live together, and they never really have. There's always that undercurrent of who's belongs and who doesn't, and whose family's better than others, and so that even today has some undercurrents that bring social issues to the fore. But it's the way that life was, and this is what we've got to work with, and the church and the gospel and Jesus has brought a lot of healing to a lot of those people. A lot of that pain still comes to the fore from time to time. If you can imagine what it would be like if your daughter was ripped out of your arms tomorrow, you had no idea where she went, and you never ever saw her again. That pain would never go away, and that pain never went for some of those parents. It never went for the children, and for the subsequent generations that pain is still there as well. And compound that, they're still not recognised as being the first people of this land officially. So it's a compounding issue that just keeps bubbling under the surface. And really Jesus is the only one who can bring any sense of identity to a person who's broken like that. So that's where the church hopefully can come in and bring that healing and restoration. Not just within Yarrabah, but we're hoping within the wider church community as well. Part of why we're doing this, I guess, so that people know Yarrabah and part of its story.
How to live off the land and being connected to the land, it's something that we got brought up in, and something that we had to strive for, with our elders teaching us this way and that way. It's sort of being a connected way, and we had to respect the land and live off the land, and also respect those who were around us. And especially living in Yarrabah, being the biggest place, we had to learn stories, and we had to know it, because the generation coming up would be, so off-minded, but we had to learn the stories. We had to learn traditional stories and also the gospel story, because Yarrabah was also a missionary setup. Yarrabah was the missionary came in 1892. So
within 26 years ago. Ernest Gribble. So it was an Anglican mission, and today, while not everyone would attend church every Sunday, the last census, we had a phone call saying, can you explain something? And the census said that 85% of people in Yarrabah identified as Anglican. We said most of Australia was under 20. Can you explain that? We said, well, it's an Anglican mission, so everyone gets baptised, married, buried, everything else in between as Anglican, so everyone identifies as Anglican. So it's still very much in there, even though you wouldn't have everyone attending church on a Sunday.
And many of the families today who are searching for extended families, and they mainly go back to Yarrabah because that is where one of the places where they were sent from. One go to Palm Island, one go to Sherbrooke, one go to Hopevale, but still in all, their real place was Yarrabah. So they look for family traces. Oh yeah, you're my brother, you're my sister, or you're my cousin. It's also bringing back the reconcile of being a part of a big family, a big picture. Also, God is in the middle. God is there. Jesus is there, and that is what they had strived to find. They had to find their own identity, and then when they connect to one another, oh yeah, you're my sister. Where you're from? Or you're from Yarrabah? Or yeah, I'm from Mount Isa, or I'm from Brisbane. Doesn't matter, but beneath that, you have a connection to a particular family, the land, and also to your own heritage. It's such powerful in itself as it speaks. Our people saw God through His Son, and they describe Him as being a sacred one, or being the one that different to us. And then a lot of the stories were saying that who made the star? We all sleep under the star. Who made fire? These are some of the common stories that we hear.
And that's part of the beauty of Untitled Chapter Bible College, where the stories from Aboriginal spirituality or Indigenous spirituality is connected with the gospel story, and it's one story, different ways of connecting to God. And a lot of the people say, well, God was always here. When the missionary came, they put a different name and brought everything together with the gospel. So One Top is a big part of life in Yarrabah. I think this year we've got 17 students enrolled, and a few more that want to enrol next year. Yeah, that's been an encouraging thing, and we spend a couple of days a week, a lot of us just getting together, studying together and supporting one another and getting through the study. So that's been an exciting part of life in Yarrabah for me since I've been here. But at night we have fellowship, and so we go around different parts. There's lots of little suburbs, if you like, of Yarrabah, and so we'll go to a different home and get the music cranked up loud, and people just share their testimony of what God's been doing this week and what He's meant to them, and challenging those who are around, sharing songs, and it's a really nice time. It's just as the Spirit moves. That's one of the exact opposite to a Sunday morning, which is so structured. The Spirit does what the Spirit wants to do at night, and it's fantastic. A lot of kids, and you just know that there's people around who have been connected with church at some point, who are sitting in their lounges listening, and so it's a good way of getting the gospel out. And slowly people are starting to come back, which is what we're wanting, because they're seeing that there's change and people are working together and wanting to be part of that. So I think that's an exciting part of this year.
And not only that, everybody knows about Jesus, because
it's not a new story.
Yeah, when you're at a fellowship, or when you're somewhere sharing about Jesus, they're there listening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know. Oh, we want to hear this. We want to hear that. Can you give us more information? But then they say, we want to come to this particular event. We want to come to that event. What time does this service start? What time does that service start? Some of the people get motivated in their spirit that, oh yeah, we see our sister going to church, we want to come too. And we see our brother going in at Bible study, or we want to come along too. So there's a lot of...
It's just starting to...
Yeah, it's starting to bubble, and it's starting to get the spirit out moving. and then whatever they want to do, then another one will follow. Stepping stone.
So the other thing we're hoping to start next week when school goes back is a youth group, because there hasn't been one for a long time. So we're looking at grades 4 to 6, starting with a manageable group and just see where that goes from there. So that's exciting, because the youth is probably, that area of youth is the biggest area of social concern in Yarrabah. Schooling only goes to year 10, so if you want to do 11 and 12, you have to hop on a bus very early in the morning and go into town, into Gordonvale or somewhere else to go to school, and it's not everybody's idea of a good time. So a lot of people drop out, and because it's somewhat isolated, alcohol and drugs and gambling just become a way of life for most people, and then you have that no hope. So a lot of vandalism and truancy is huge through schools, so we're sort of trying to look at ways that we can engage the youth slowly and hopefully bring some meaning to their lives. Women's ministries, we're hoping to get that up and running a bit better than it has been. We've just spent some time this year. We've been a hall that has been gutted and put together, so we've now got a commercial kitchen in there, so everyone's getting excited about the ways that we can use that to prepare meals for those who need it, or selling morning teas, and just getting people back into the church area. So that's been a good thing to get happening. So lots of little things like that that are starting to bear fruit, and we're believing for bigger and better things to come. I think they have been undervalued, their spirituality. I see a depth of spirituality that I don't see in the white church often. One of the first things was, whenever something goes wrong, the first thing to do is to get someone to pray. And I just wasn't used to people saying, "Rev, can you pray for us?" It was usually you'd go and talk to someone else, or try and sort it yourself, but that was the first thing. You need prayer. So that's great. I look at the people that actually hear God so clearly, more than you would in the non-Indigenous churches, in the simple things, the everyday things of life. I see a hunger for knowing God that we don't see. I see a connection to the land and to the animals, the sea life, and a respect for that unless you're there, a part of it's hard to describe, but I think we don't appreciate God the same way that our Indigenous brothers and sisters do. There's a freedom to worship that is missing in a lot of white churches. That's where I see it. I don't know about you, Lindsay.
And also learning the value of culture is another one, because you have a lot of question on your mind that, what is the corroboree dancing for? What is the didgeridoo blowing? Why do the ladies dance? Because some of it in the outer society, they don't know what the meaning of.
I think there was a time too when the church had said that culture is evil and you shouldn't have it. So it was wiped out of church services, where God gave us our individual ways, and we can use dance and music in whatever form as our own to worship God. So we want to get that integrated back into our services and our worship, because I think that's an important thing of building up a culture that was lost. The language is slowly being resurrected through the school, because they were punished for using the language, so it was almost lost. So it's all those little ways of trying to bring that back and bring identity to people, I guess, not just as Christians, but as Indigenous Christians and people of worth in God's eyes.
And also sharing the gospel cultural stories. Keep going with the gospel, because it gives us a clear understanding of this is what happened in the gospel. And then we were living here for so many years that we saw it. Our people saw it, our people seen it, our people touched it. And now that the gospel come with another ministry, it's that we saw it before they brought it to us. God was the Word, we saw the Word. The Aboriginal people saw the Word, they danced for the Word, they accepted it gladly. And that was one of the things that language and culture mix. They did a big
Wiped it almost out, yeah.
clearing
Mm.
of it all. So slowly restoring the gospel, restoring the stories, restoring everything, it will give us a clear identity of what's going to happen.
Well, I could probably give you a list a mile long of things that we could do with to help. Things like when we were coming down here, I asked if we could put together a PowerPoint. I said no, because we haven't got the equipment to do that. So that's part of getting TVs and things that we can actually use the media more for youth and for church. So that sort of equipment, sports equipment. We're wanting to get things like maybe the Alpha course, get that set of materials so that we can run Alpha programs. All sorts of different things that the list just goes on and on. We're having some of our furniture restored, and that's ongoing. There's always repairs and maintenance which haven't been done. We've got fencing to put up to help with the business of vandalism. But yeah, and we'd like a van so that we could pick up people. But I think the biggest thing is to pray for the community. So prayer is going to be one of the things that really will help with growth, and I think that's the biggest one. But anything, there's a huge long list of all sorts of things.
And also Bible resources. And
yeah, youth, Bibles.
Need more resource for younger.
Sunday school, and all sorts of things.
Yes.